If you have this state quarter in your pocket right now, don't spend it just yet, because what looks like ordinary 25 cents could actually be hiding rare errors, high-grade condition, or collector demand that turns it into something worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Most people completely ignore it, but a few sharp-eyed collectors know exactly what to look for, and they're the ones making serious money from coins just like this. If you have this coin sitting quietly in your pocket change, coin jar, or hidden somewhere in an old box at home, you might not realize that you could be holding something that collectors around the world dream about finding. The 2000 Virginia State Quarter is part of the famous U.S. 50 State Quarters program, a series that began in 1999 and continued through 2008, celebrating each U.S. state with its own unique design. At first glance, it looks like just another 25-cent piece, something you might easily spend without a second thought. But what makes this coin so interesting is not just its face value or even its design, but the story behind it, the demand it created among collectors, and the rare possibilities that can turn an ordinary coin into something potentially worth far more than anyone would expect. Imagine this for a moment. A simple quarter, the kind you receive in change at a store, could actually be the key to something life-changing if it carries rare characteristics, minting errors, or exceptional condition that makes collectors compete for it in auctions and private sales. The excitement surrounding state quarters like the Virginia issue comes from this exact idea, that everyday currency can sometimes transform into a hidden treasure. The year 2000 marked an important phase in the state quarters program, as collectors were already deeply engaged with the series, and people across the United States were actively searching through their change to complete full sets. The Virginia quarter itself honors one of the most historically significant states in the country, known as the birthplace of presidents and deeply tied to early American history. The design on the reverse side of the coin features a powerful and symbolic image of the arrival of English settlers at Jamestown in 1607, with Captain John Smith standing prominently in the scene. Behind him, you can see the three ships that carried the settlers across the Atlantic Ocean, representing courage, exploration, and the beginning of a new chapter in American history. The inscription, Jamestown 1607 to 2007, refers to the 400th anniversary of the settlement, which makes the design not just artistic, but also deeply historical. On the obverse side, like all state quarters of this series, it features the familiar portrait of George Washington, originally designed by John Flanagan, which has been used on U.S. quarters for decades in slightly modified forms. Now, what makes collectors truly excited is not just the design itself, but the minting details and variations that can exist within a single year and design. The 2000 Virginia State Quarter was produced at multiple U.S. mint facilities, primarily Philadelphia and Denver, meaning you will often find a P or D mint mark on the coin, depending on where it was struck. Most of these coins were produced in extremely high numbers, which means that in normal circulated condition, they are still worth only face value. However, the story changes dramatically when you begin to look at coins in exceptional condition or those with rare minting errors. Coins that have been preserved in near-perfect condition, often graded MS-65, MS-67, or even higher by professional grading services, can command strong interest from collectors. The difference between a worn quarter and a flawless mint state example is enormous in the world of numismatics, because condition directly affects rarity in practice, even if the coin itself was widely minted. There are also error varieties that can make this coin significantly more valuable. For example, some Virginia state quarters may show slight misalignments, double strikes, off-center prints, or unusual planchet issues where the metal blank had imperfections before minting. While most of these errors are subtle and require close inspection under magnification, they are exactly the kinds of details that collectors search for. In some rare cases, coins with dramatic and visually obvious minting errors have sold for hundreds or even thousands of dollars, depending on demand and certification. Another factor that can increase value is the presence of silver-proof versions, which were not intended for general circulation but were released in special collector sets. These silver proofs have higher intrinsic value due to their metal content and are often found in pristine condition because they were not used in everyday transactions. The collector appeal of the 2000 Virginia quarter also comes from the broader popularity of the state quarters program itself. Millions of people who never previously collected coins became interested in numismatics because of this series, and that created a long-lasting market where certain coins in exceptional condition became highly desirable. Even today, collectors continue to search for high-grade examples, especially those that have been professionally certified and sealed in protective holders. When a coin is graded at a very high level, it is no longer just a piece of pocket change. It becomes a certified collectible with a defined market value that can fluctuate based on demand, rarity, and overall condition. Now imagine discovering a 2000 Virginia State quarter that is not only in perfect condition, but also carries a rare minting error or unusual feature that sets it apart from millions of others. In the world of coin collecting, such discoveries are rare, but they are not impossible. There have been documented cases where seemingly ordinary coins have turned out to be worth substantial amounts after careful examination and grading. This is why collectors always emphasize checking every detail, from the sharpness of the strike to the clarity of the design, and even the smallest irregularities that might indicate something special. The excitement is not just in the value itself, but in the possibility that something overlooked for years could suddenly become valuable. Over time, as the coin becomes older and fewer high-quality examples remain in circulation, the value of top-grade specimens tends to increase. While most 2000 Virginia quarters will always remain worth just 25 cents in everyday use, the rarest versions, especially those in pristine condition or with significant mint errors, can attract serious collector attention. In extreme cases, when demand is high and the coin is exceptionally rare in top condition, values reported in the collector market can reach into the hundreds or even thousands of dollars. And in highly competitive situations involving certified rare errors or perfect condition specimens, estimates can become even more impressive depending on buyer interest and auction dynamics. So if you are someone who enjoys checking your spare change or collecting coins casually, the message here is simple. Never underestimate what you might already have. A coin like the 2000 Virginia State quarter may look completely ordinary at first glance, but under the right conditions, it could tell a much more valuable story. The key is awareness, attention to detail, and understanding that the world of coin collecting often rewards patience and curiosity. Many great discoveries in numismatics have come not from professional dealers, but from everyday people who simply decided to take a closer look at what was already in their hands. And that is what makes coins like this so fascinating, because behind every small piece of metal lies a potential story of history, craftsmanship, and sometimes unexpected value that can turn an ordinary moment into something truly unforgettable. If you have a 2001 Vermont State quarter sitting in your pocket change, coin jar, or hidden in an old collection box, don't rush to dismiss it as just another 25-cent piece. Because this coin carries a story that connects American history, modern coin collecting, and the surprising possibility that even everyday money can sometimes turn into something far more interesting than its face value suggests. Imagine holding a coin that millions of people have used in daily transactions, yet only a tiny fraction of them are ever looked at closely enough to reveal rare traits, special minting characteristics, or high-grade conditions that collectors actively search for around the world. The excitement around coins like this comes from the idea that something so ordinary could quietly hold hidden value waiting to be discovered by someone observant enough to notice it. The 2001 Vermont State Quarter was released as part of the U.S. 50 State Quarters program, one of the most successful coin programs ever launched by the United States Mint. This program ran from 1999 to 2008 and introduced a new state-themed design every few months, encouraging millions of people to start collecting coins for the first time. The Vermont issue represents the 14th state in the series and reflects Vermont's strong identity as a land of natural beauty, agriculture, and tradition. On the reverse side of the coin, you can see a peaceful and detailed scene showing a man collecting maple sap from 2 maple trees using traditional buckets, symbolizing Vermont's famous maple syrup industry. In the background, the landscape includes Camel's Hump Mountain, one of the most recognizable natural landmarks in the state. The design is simple but meaningful, capturing the quiet rural life that Vermont is known for, and the inscription "Freedom and Unity" reflects the state motto, emphasizing independence balanced with community values. On the obverse side, The coin carries the familiar portrait of George Washington, a design originally created by John Flanagan and used in modified form on U.S. quarters for decades. What makes the 2001 Vermont quarter especially interesting for collectors is not that it is rare in circulation, but that it exists in extremely large numbers, which creates a different kind of collecting challenge. Because over 400 million of these coins were minted, most examples are very common and still only worth face value in circulated condition. However, when coins are preserved in exceptional condition, known as mint state grades, their value can increase because high-quality examples become harder to find over time. Even though millions were produced, very few survive without scratches, wear, or contact marks from being used in everyday commerce. This is where coin grading becomes important, because a coin that looks slightly better preserved than average might actually be significantly more valuable to collectors who specialize in high-grade modern coins. The real excitement in coins like the Vermont quarter often comes from minting errors and unusual variations. These are not common, but they do exist, and they are what drive collector interest beyond normal face value. Some known types of errors include off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned during minting, die cracks or die breaks that can create raised lines or blobs on the surface, and double strikes where the coin is struck more than once, creating a noticeable overlap in the design. There are also cases of struck-through errors, where foreign material interferes with the minting process, leaving unusual markings on the coin's surface. In rarer situations, missing clad layer errors can occur, where part of the outer nickel layer is absent, exposing the copper core underneath, creating a dramatic color difference. These types of errors are not the norm, but when they do appear, they can turn a simple quarter into a collectible piece that attracts attention from serious numismatists. Another important aspect that collectors often overlook is the presence of proof versions and special mint sets. The U.S. Mint produced proof coins for collectors, including San Francisco's mint versions that are struck with higher detail and polished dies. These coins were not meant for circulation and are typically found in coin sets rather than loose change. In general, proof coins tend to have better detail and mirror-like surfaces, making them more desirable for collectors who focus on presentation and condition rather than circulation history. Most 2001 Vermont quarters, however, remain extremely common, and even in uncirculated condition, they usually only reach a small premium over face value. Typical examples in circulated condition are still worth 25 cents, while uncirculated coins in higher mint grades might sell for just a few dollars depending on quality and demand. Even error coins, unless they are dramatic or certified, usually stay in the low to moderate price range. Only the rare combination of exceptional grading, strong eye appeal, or significant mint errors creates the possibility of higher values. This is why most experts emphasize realistic expectations when it comes to modern state quarters, because while they are fun and collectible, only a small percentage become truly valuable. Still, the appeal of the 2001 Vermont State Quarter is not only about money. It is also about discovery. Many collectors enjoy searching through rolls of coins or old jars simply for the thrill of finding something unusual. Even small details, like slight doubling in letters, unusual coloration, or off-center designs, can make a coin stand out from millions of identical pieces. And sometimes, coins that look slightly different at first glance turn out to be interesting conversation pieces or minor collectible varieties that add uniqueness to a collection. So if you ever come across a 2001 Vermont quarter, take a moment before spending it. Look closely at the details, examine the condition, and see if anything unusual stands out. While most will remain simple pocket change, the world of coin collecting has shown again and again that surprises can come from the most ordinary places. And that possibility alone is what keeps collectors searching, because even a single overlooked coin could potentially tell a much bigger story than its 25-cent face value suggests.